February 21st, 2026. The world woke up to a financial earthquake. Just 24 hours after the U.S. Supreme Court struck down his emergency trade powers, President Donald Trump struck back. From the Oval Office, he didn't just ignore the ruling, he escalated. Defying the justices, Trump signed an executive order raising global tariffs from 10 to 15%. He calls the court's decision anti-American. The global markets are in a total freefall. Trump is using Section 122 of the 1974 Trade Act, a rarely touched legal weapon. It allows the president to impose duties for 150 days to address serious balance of payments problems. This 15% levy hits almost every country on Earth, effective immediately. The president's message is clear. He doesn't need the court's permission to protect the American economy. The battle between the White House and the judiciary has officially begun. In Brussels and Berlin, the reaction is one of pure shock. The European Union had just breathed a sigh of relief after the court's Friday ruling. Now, they face an even higher wall. European car manufacturers and luxury brands are seeing their value evaporate. Trump frames this as retribution against countries that have ripped off America for decades. He is daring Congress and the courts to stop him while the 150-day clock is ticking. This isn't just about trade, it's about power. By raising the rate to 15% immediately after a legal defeat, Trump is testing the limits of the executive branch. Legal experts are calling it a constitutional crisis, but for Trump's base, it's a masterstroke of America First defiance. The president claims these new, legally tested tariffs will generate billions to make America greater than ever. The global trade order is now a memory. Shipping giants are already rerouting. Cargo vessels in the mid-Atlantic are receiving urgent orders to slow down or change course before the February 24th deadline. If they don't dock before midnight, their cargo becomes 15% more expensive instantly. This tariff race is creating chaos in global logistics. Supply chains that took decades to build are being severed in a single weekend. The cost of everything is about to skyrocket. Retailers across America are in a state of panic. From small businesses to tech giants, everyone is scrambling to understand the new rules. Trump has signaled that while some friendly nations might get exemptions, the 15% baseline is the new reality for most. Consumer prices for electronics, clothing, and machinery are expected to jump within weeks. The president insists the foreigners will pay, but economists warn the American consumer is the real target. This is the endgame of the second Trump term. By leveraging Section 122, he has bought himself 150 days of absolute economic leverage. During this window, he plans to force every major trading partner to the table for the deal of the century. You are watching the most aggressive reshaping of the global economy since the 1930s. This is GEOSTRAT, and the world will never be the same. Subscribe to see who survives the tariff war. Beijing's response was immediate. The Chinese Ministry of Commerce called the 15% tariff an act of outright economic banditry. In 2026, China is no longer the same. Its economy has reoriented itself toward domestic demand, but exports to the U.S. remain critical. Xi Jinping convenes an emergency Politburo meeting. China is preparing to strike at America's most vulnerable point, the supply chain for rare earth metals. The European Union is on the brink of disintegration. France is demanding immediate, mirror-like tariffs on American goods, while Germany fears the permanent loss of its automobile exports. Brussels realizes that if it doesn't respond now, Trump will continue to dictate terms. A blacklist of American products, from California wine to Texas LNG, is being prepared. The trade war is escalating into a full-blown transatlantic battle. For emerging markets, 15% is a death sentence. The currencies of Brazil, India, and Indonesia collapsed against the dollar in a matter of hours. Investors are fleeing to safe havens, creating a liquidity crunch. Trump claims this is another country's problem, but the global South sees this as an opportunity to finally sever ties with the Western financial system. BRICS begins discussing the emergency launch of an alternative payment platform. Trump is using uncertainty as a tool. His Saturday tweets and posts on Truth Social move stock prices faster than central bank reports. He's hinting that tariffs can be lifted for those who behave honestly. It's a classic pressure strategy. Create chaos and then offer a way out on their own terms. Leaders in Canada and Mexico are already requesting emergency calls to Mar-a-Lago, trying to salvage the USMCA agreement. The U.S. tech sector is terrified. Apple, Nvidia, and Tesla rely on Asian components, which are now 15% more expensive. Trump demands, build factories here, and there will be no taxes. But relocating production will take years, and the payment must be made today. Emergency cost-cutting meetings are beginning in Silicon Valley. Tech giant shares are dragging the entire NASDAQ down, causing panic among ordinary American investors. Global logistics is turning into a war zone. Insurance companies are raising premiums due to the risk of delays and seizures. Millions of tons of cargo are piling up in the ports of Singapore and Shanghai, with owners unsure whether they will be able to cover the new costs. Some companies are declaring force majeure. The world has suddenly realized how fragile globalization, built on cheap shipping and low tariffs, was. This isn't just a trade dispute. It's a reframing of reality. Trump is appending a system that has existed since World War II. WTO rules are officially declared dead. The world is dividing into trading blocks, each building its own walls. In this chaos, only those with the resources and willpower will survive. We stand on the brink of either the greatest depression or the greatest renewal, and time is running out. A real storm is brewing within America. While Trump celebrates his victory at Mar-a-Lago, store shelves are starting to empty. Major retailers, Walmart and Target, are warning of imminent price increases. The 15% tariff falls not on foreigners, but on American families. Inflation, barely contained, is creeping upward again. But the White House is adamant. This is temporary pain for the sake of eternal greatness. The country is more divided than ever. An insurrection is brewing in Congress. Democrats and some traditional Republicans are trying to block the order, calling it economic suicide. But Trump has a powerful lever: public opinion. He accuses lawmakers of working for globalists and China. The Capitol is turning into a battleground where not only the economy, but the very structure of power in the United States is at stake. Will Congress be able to stop the president before it's too late? Wall Street is furious. Investment banks are losing billions due to instability. Trump is responding with the threat of nationalizing critical industries unless businesses begin bringing their factories back home. This is capitalism in a new way, where the state dictates the market. Silicon Valley tycoons, who yesterday supported the president, are now looking for ways to circumvent tariffs through Mexico and Vietnam. A great game of cat and mouse with the IRS is beginning. But this strategy has its supporters. In the Rust Belt, Ohio, Michigan, Pennsylvania, people see tariffs as a chance to revive their cities. Factories shuttered for decades are beginning to show signs of life. Trump promises subsidies to those who restart production within 150 days. For millions of workers, he is the only one unafraid to destroy the old world to build a new one. For them, 15% is the price of their return to the middle class. Trump's opponents point to a domino effect. If U.S. tariffs kill China's exports, Beijing could depress the dollar, triggering a massive sell-off of U.S. treasuries. In 2026, the financial system is so interconnected that attempting to isolate itself is like performing an amputation without anesthesia. The world's reserve currency is under threat. For the first time in decades, the possibility of a U.S. default ceases to be theoretical and becomes frighteningly real. Meanwhile, Trump's 150-day clock continues to tick. He's not expecting compromise. He's demanding capitulation. His strategy is to push the situation to the brink of collapse to force the world to accept new rules. This is geopolitics at its most dangerous. No one knows whether he's bluffing or truly prepared to destroy global trade. But everyone agrees on one thing. Trump has forever changed America's role as the guarantor of open markets. The outcome of 2026 will be determined not in the courts, but in the wallets of citizens and on the decks of aircraft carriers. The tariff shock is just the beginning. If Trump's plan works, America will become a self-sufficient fortress. If not, the world will descend into chaos that will eclipse the Great Depression. One thing is certain. The era of cheap goods and open borders is over. Welcome to a new, closed world. That was GEOSTRAT. Like it if you're ready for change.